Well, we've hit the halfway point in the season and Marcus Byfeld is absolutely running away with this now, but Henrik Lindorff is doing his best to keep him in touch, especially as we have some drop rounds coming into it at some point. Marcus Byfeld has some bad rounds. You may see things swap around, but let's see how it goes. We're here at Interlagos, and of course it is the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan's road course series is the MABI Grand Prix. And to myself, Cam Roger, Lewis McGlade alongside me, and Hugo Louise on the production of this RaceSpot RaceSpotTV broadcast as we bring you a couple of races here tonight for rounds 9 and 10 of the season. We started back in January at the Nürburgring before Virginia, Laguna Seca, Monza a couple of weeks ago. Now we hit Interlagos to start the second half of the season before we go to Brands Hatch, Sonoma and Suzuka between now and the end of March. So very quickly, to be honest, this championship is going to wrap up in the next 6-7 weeks or so. Marcus Byfeld leads the way by 27 points to Henrik Lindhoff. And then Dan Homer has secured himself in that third position, with Linus Broström just falling behind a little bit with the rest of the mid-pack in the top 10. But it is certainly still all up for grabs because Marcus Byfeld could have some sketchy rounds, let's put it that way. But generally speaking, he's going to have a little bit of an advantage. So if he can get out the front, he's going to be very difficult to catch indeed. But tonight at Interlagos, there's always room for some mistakes around here, especially in this middle sector. If you get caught up with someone on that first lap, you go spinning around, you're going to get 40 GT3 cars coming past you. So that's going to be very fun to watch out for, of course. We're into the qualifying session, and Marcus Byfeld is leading the way 0.4 of a second back to Henrik Lindhoff, but it is Mikko Sundström, the teammate of Byfeld, in third place, who's trying to chase him down just a couple of tenths of a second behind. And once again, it's very, very close in that midfield. But Lewis, you come to 3 minutes to go in this qualifying session, and you were just mentioning, you haven't been here for a few rounds in the road course series, and your first question was, is Byfeld leading again?
Yeah, look, there's a reason he's trying to chase down yet another championship, win a fourth one as well. Like, he is the man to beat in this championship. Everyone knew it coming into the season. He's even proven that over on the oval side as well, where he's the points leader. But just because you're the points leader, just because you're at this part of the season with effectively 4 more weeks to go, or weeks of racing rather to go in this championship, 4 more evenings in this series, doesn't mean that everything's kind of locked on. You never know. You can have an absolute terrible run over the next few rounds. I mean, next round they go to Brands Hatch. That is a terrifying zone because one false mistake, you're in big trouble around there.
That's a good shout, actually. I kind of had a bit of oversight on that when we were shouting out the calendar. Yes, Brands Hatch, that is... if this is potential for carnage in the mid-sector, Brands Hatch certainly is. Henrik Lindhoff, though, he closed the gap on his next run. He's now within 1/4 of a second of Marcus at the front. Currently, Byfeld's the only driver into the 1-minute 30s with a 0.986. It's a tricky circuit, though, because it's quite short in comparison to the others. In many ways, there's less distance to try and gain or lose some time. So the gaps often are a little bit smaller. But let's see what Lindhoff is going to do. The number 8 machine for sim race speed, and across the line, it's a 0.10. So that is very good. He gets just over a tenth behind. Same position, but at least he's securing that second place from the cars behind.
Sundström as well, just outside of being within half a second, missing the apex there at the opening portion of the Center S, and I think it's going to call time on that lap. Of course, Marcus Byfeld right at the front is great, strong and whatnot, but it's kind of one of those ones where if you're within a couple of tenths around here, as Henrik Lindhoff is, we're riding on board with him, this is certainly the kind of track where you can use slipstream, you can keep close in this middle sector, and you can go on the attack in that final run before you head over the start-finish line and back down into the Center S once more. Lindhoff in the middle sector, using that curve on the right-hand side. Really tricky middle sector here, especially in a fairly lethargic GT3 car comparative to how most people have thrown around this circuit in the F1 games, where it feels like you've got infinite grip compared to where we are now.
Yes, certainly. It's a flowing track as well. It's corner after corner in this middle sector, so you have to get the first corner right to set up the next one, to set up the next one. It's not just to chuck it in, hope, and then go down the next straight. You really have to be quite methodical and plod your way around this circuit. It's a solid lap so far. In terms of the sectors, his first sector is actually faster than Marcus Byfeld, but he's just over a tenth off, or almost 10th and a half off in that middle sector. Can he recoup it in the final sector to get a little bit closer? It's a 0.98, and that might just be enough, not quite actually, for that second position, but that is certainly a good time indeed for Henrik Lindhoff. And it looks like Byfeld actually went slightly faster on his final lap. That is why the gap actually increased. So Marcus Byfeld went down to a 0.847. So in the end, Lindhoff not quite enough, but at least securing that second place. The important factor for Byfeld, once again, is that he's got his teammate Sundström directly behind him at the start. Here's Sebastian Svensson, the 303 machine. He had all sorts of issues back in Monza last time out. I don't know how he was able to get to the finish, but he's up into third position. That's much more like it for him, and he's up there on that second row, beating Sundström at the end. So here is your grid for today's MABI Grand Prix at Interlagos. It is Byfeld and Lindhoff as expected on the front row. But a little bit of change behind Svensson and Sundström on the second row with Backman and Oliver Bohlin. That's a bit of a better qualifying for him also, up into 6th place. Christopher Gerhardsson, Joel Stråberg will be in 8th place with Holmer, Crook, Broström and Bredesen rounding out the top 12. And once again, loads of drivers here for the Road Course Series. Frisk, Filikowski, Alterwill, Hagman, Kolsma and Åberg there inside the front 9 rows of the grid. Emforden, Gustrom, Forsberg, Rosqvist, Hilleström and Hockenschott, the front 12 rows of the grid. Gunnarsson, Gran, Motin, Wallingsam, Lodin and Mattheson, the top 30. And then we have Kinnell, Dahlstrand, Broström, Svensson, Reistad and Olsen there towards the back of the field. But the driver at the very back is Kenneth Tier. We have a few other drivers actually who'll be joining us towards the back of the grid. We've got Stiller, Pfeffer, Pennings, Ulriksson, Magnussen, all those drivers not setting laps. 5 of them, and they'll be starting at the back for, I believe, is a 42 car field. And that, Lewis, is quite a lot of GT3s around such a short venue.
Yeah, as much as, you know, look, it's a Grand Prix venue. It takes about 90 seconds for the GT3s to get around, slightly over that. There is plenty of room to manoeuvre, but especially that run down into the centre rest on the opening lap, it can get a little bit chaotic because it's so wide and open before you get onto the brakes into that opening turn. It's also quite a tricky braking zone to spot your marker because it kind of feels like you can always brake a little bit later than you do because it is so wide on entry. But it's that run, if they're still side by side there, the run down the Retroposta down towards the Ski de Lago, that's where things can get a little bit hairy in turn 4, and there could be a little bit of drama. Of course, one thing that we don't have to worry about, at least in this race, is pit stops. We don't have to deal with that in this one. It is just a sprint for 20 minutes up the checkered flag.
Certainly as the pace truck pulls away for our half formation lap. I like how they give us the half one, even though it's such a short lap around here. Yeah, so 2 races coming your way. 20 minutes the first one, which is just a sprint from this qualifying result. Then we will reverse the top 15 drivers and go again for race number 2 of 44 minutes. That will need a pit stop. So in this series, we have a 50% maximum fuel tank, which means that it's about half an hour. So for this race, absolutely fine. But for the next race, they will need to stop for about 10 to 15 minutes of fuel, little splash and dash, and go to the end. And of course, that will most likely be Byfeld and Lindhoff starting from about P14, P15. And they will have to work their way through, and that is always a little bit more of a tricky one indeed. But this is certainly a great venue. We had good fun when we came here back in the IndyCar series a couple years ago. That was quite something. But let's see what is going to happen this time around. Henrik Lindhoff did win on that evening. He won the second race, the feature race in the IndyCar. What can he do here in the GT3s? It's the MABI Grand Prix, the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan's Road Course Series for 2026. You've got your 2 championship contenders on that front row. It's myself, Cam Roger, Lewis McGlade alongside me as well as we work our way through the final kinks. It's going to be a short run, actually, up towards the line with the pit entry being so late around here. They're not going to get up to much speed at all before we see them hitting the brakes in towards the first corner, the Senna S. Always a very tricky corner. Pace truck is going to pull off last minute, and then Marcus Byfeld is going to bring us to the green flag, and he's actually not got the best start that he would have wanted, but it's enough to cover off Lindhoff down in towards the first corner. We're 3-4 wide in the mid-pack as we work our way to the first braking zone. It looks like Svensson in third place going to have that one sorted for now, but actually he runs a little bit wide. He's going to go for a spin, and after a great qualifying session, all the cars are going to come past him.
That's a big shame for Svensson. Just caught a little bit too much of the apex curve on the inside of the centre S and goes round. Bit of a hit on the barrier. Such a shame to start the race in that way. Great to see a 720 and Mustang. It was a Merc up there as well. Aston Martins, BMWs, love seeing GT3 packs like this. Pretty tight here in the mid-pack. Linus Broström maybe a little bit out of position, in 11th position, but he's just on the cusp of moving back inside the top 10.
Yeah, that was a solid start for most drivers, actually. So far, there are some big movers, though. We got Lucas Olsen. He's already up 12 positions in the mid-pack. That is an amazing start for him, up into P24 from towards the back of the field. Oh, there's some contact there on the Aston Martin, just getting sent out wide. That was not ideal, as they're trying to just regroup themselves. That was just in front of Marcus Hagman. I think it was Oliver Rosqvist in the Aston Martin. He's getting pushed out again. Hagman's pushed him wide, and we've got a spinner just behind him. I think that's Oscar Motin, who's got involved with one of the Ferraris there. That is a weird place to crash. There must have already been contact through that kink.
Yeah, and we do have a meatball flag for Oliver Rosqvist, so unfortunately there is going to be a return to pit lane for some of the drivers. A few drivers, again, we expect this in this style of racing. 42 cars around Interlagos. Yes, it's a big Grand Prix venue, but there's still plenty of opportunity to crash and get involved. Henrik Lindhoff, though, he is keeping close to Marcus Byfelder. If he's within a couple of tenths of a second in qualifying, he'll definitely be able to challenge in this race, and he's proving that now. He's almost going side by side here through turn 3.
This is what we want to see, a championship battle, and this is what Lindhoff needs. He's behind 27 points in the championship. He needs every single one that he can get, and this would be 5 points the difference between these two positions, although Byfelder did get the extra point for the pole position, so that makes this even more important for Lindhoff, but not this time round. Byfelder holds on, but that is a good omen for how this race might go.
I mean, look, Mighty Mustang versus the nimble McLaren. That's going to be a good fun battle between those two at the front of this field. And I mean, look, maybe we're going to be seeing that all the way through the feature race as well. Big look to the inside here as everyone tries to navigate their way. It's Jock Frisk trying to get past Filipovski. It's, of course, the BMW of Linus Broström, who is in 11th position ahead. So like I say, it's a driver that we would expect to be in the top 10, isn't it, with Broström? Obviously, he's very well adapted on the ovals, and we've seen Broström, what is it, 4th in the championship at the moment, isn't he?
Yes, he's doing very good, considering that the road course stuff isn't necessarily his strong suit. He especially struggled in the Formula-style cars, GT3s, a little bit more to what he's used to do. So, yeah, if he can get 4th place overall by the end of the season, I think he'll be very happy, because, to be honest, he was probably aiming for, like, the top 8 or so. So let's see how we're getting towards the first corner. This is Jock Frisk in the 25 machine. He's got Morten Bredesen in the 22. That was the green Mercedes just behind him. Not enough for there to be an overtake that time around, but great to see the onboard there from Jock Frisk. It would be nice to get a few more drivers in the Zoom call for the next round. It's always good to see what their setup's like.
Isn't Morten Bredesen one of the ones we commentated on the, what are they called? What are those cups called? They did 2 of them a year.
Yes,
there was one in like
on
January or something.
Race Room. Yes.
Yeah.
There's the Epiphany Day trophy.
Epiphany Day, yeah. And it was like Sweden Day.
Well, it was the Swedish National Day as well.
Yeah. Bredesen was in those. He was pretty rapid in those. Obviously, that was on a different platform and a wildly different strength of field, to be blunt. You know, it's good to see.
Yes, certainly. This is an amazing community of drivers, to be honest. The Swedish community. Of course, we have 40-odd drivers here in the road course series. There's generally about 25 or so in the oval. And the racing can get tough, though, as we've seen a little bit of a wiggle. I say a little bit of a wiggle, a lot of a wiggle, because Strollberg there's going to lose 2 places. Bachmann in the red Mustang's going to get through. Then Giros in the white and purple one is going to get past. Now they're going side by side. Giros to the outside. Bachmann defending for his life on that inside. But look at the run that Giros got. He's going to really challenge him around the outside, but he has to back out of that one, unfortunately. With side-by-side, bit of contact in the background. Crook is going to get a hip check, and in the end, he's going to end up in the wall. Can he get... Oh, that's a terrible place to rejoin. He's going to have to wait for so many cars to get past him.
Yeah, I've got to say, I think that was a little bit if you were going to adjudicate blame anyway, it would be towards Daniel Holmer on the inside there. At least from that one shot that we saw on the inside there, it looked like he maybe clipped the curb a little bit too much, pushed the rear end of the Mercedes of Holmer out, and obviously that just tapping the side of the Mustang, and especially going through the opening corner here, because of how you're dropping down the hill. Your weight is so much on the right-hand side of your car. One little tap and the car will go round. Here we go. This is Holmer on the inside. I mean, look, my vibe is there was space there, and I think Holmer drifted out a little bit.
Yeah, that was just a late send. Crook, of course, was a little bit further back. He was sort of the fourth car back in line, so therefore you have to brake a little bit earlier. So that obviously opened the door for Holmer to dive down the inside, braking at an aggressive point. But even though there is technically space on the entry, it always closes up with the concertina effect. Let's see Svensson. So he's all over the curb on the inside. That's why he had no grip. He then went rearward into the end of that tyre barrier, losing the back. Here's Oscar Motin, but unfortunately that's just after his incident when he was hit by one of the Ferraris. Oh, he's lost it already. He got a swapper on. That's a weird place to do that, especially in a GT3 car with traction control. But obviously not enough for him to be able to control it at that point. We did see this a couple of races ago, where drivers were struggling quite a bit on the grip. I think it was at Laguna Seca on the colder tyres, and that of course was already on that first lap, so tyres not up to temperature.
But traction control is not mandated. You can turn them off, turn it off in these cars, and drivers will tend to run it as low as they can possibly get away with, and obviously sometimes they're a little bit too low. It's one of those ones. Yeah, obviously you do all of your practice, right? And you find the racing line. You find that, oh, I can run on TC2 around here, and it's absolutely fine. TC1, whatever. You turn it off, and I can do that on the racing line. The moment you're off the racing line, or maybe at a different part of where you are, where you normally be, suddenly you have less grip, but you're using the setup that you're used to, and suddenly that mistake can come out of absolutely nowhere. And the thing is, something like that, the car goes so fast that it's, relatively speaking, uncatchable. And I mean, look, it's easy to do, especially around here. A lot of lumps and bumps, a lot of undulation, and obviously on that opening lap, plenty of cars to be thinking about as well.
Yes, that is quite true. As we did. And I think one issue with these cars as well is, relatively speaking, they're quite heavy. So if you get a swapper on, there's a lot of weight pushing around, and then you can very easily lose it. Someone's running a little bit wide there in that midfield. It might be Everton, who's just having a little bit of a swapper, but not enough to change things around too much. Actually, it might be Hillestrom, his teammate, I should say, for True North Racing. He's now got Olsen going to the inside in the 099. We've also got Gunnarsson making moves up ahead. Seems like turn 4 is the place to be right now, as Gunnarsson goes wide, but also does not. So he's able to hold on. We'll go to Gunnarsson first, though. He's going to get himself up towards turn 6. He's got the inside line. Surely that's going to be the best place, but oh no, round the outside. We're going to try and see Marcus Hagman. Oh, there's a big crash ahead of them. They're able to avoid. That is Everton, the car we were mentioning earlier, and it looks like Gunnarsson's just going to be able to hold on to this. He's going to turn to the outside line. That would be the inside again, but oh, he has to back out of that one.
Last thing you want to see is a Porsche sideways as you come up and over the crest. Gunnarsson on the inside at BK de Pato, and will remain there. Got to go around the outside here at the penultimate corner. I think it will just about gather that one up before they get onto the brakes into the final real corner. I mean, look, that was a great battle, absolutely fantastic. Bit of side by side, love to see it. But what happened?
Oh, another
just went by
Porsche
himself again.
Yeah, another Porsche losing the rear end, and actually teammate of Svensson, who we saw in turn 3. Olsen's still not done. He's trying to make it work. He's got that inside line. Can he brake later? He's got Hagman just up ahead of him, actually, so that sort of loses him some space to brake into, but he's really trying to make it work. Side by side we go. The 74 Hillestrom's not giving up on this one. The Ferrari will have the inside line and the shorter run through the very long curve of Dassault, and he finally makes that one stick. But that was about a whole lap of action it needed for him to get that space.
And now he's lost quite a bit to Hagman. Hillestrom might have a little look at some point here in the midpoint, going out a little bit wide there at turn 4. And this is what I mean, is Hillestrøm's got the opportunity to come back to the inside, or over the outside, of course, for the next corner when they get to Ferradura. But it's going to be out a little bit wide. Sketchy place to be, especially when some marbles later on in the next race. We've got the longer race. That line most certainly will not work. Now goes back to single file, and finally Olsen is able to hang on. Great fight.
Yeah, this is good, and they got to watch out because Johan Oberg is coming in behind. Big send down the inside from Hillestrøm to get that position back. That was out of nowhere. Then took Olsen by surprise and was able to get his 74 machine up into, or back into that position, I should say. Is Olsen going to think about a re-dive, let's say, down in towards the final corner, but not quite enough. Hillestrøm goes way too deep, and that's going to lose him the momentum up the hill.
Yeah, a 296 with Porsche power either side, and no real opportunity or respite to actually pull away from this group, and it's allowed Marcus Hagman to actually pull away, following in the groups of Jonas Gunnarsson as well as Kolsmeyer. So they've been able to run away from this group. There comes a look to the inside once more from Olsen. I think this position may switch around a few times over the next 8 minutes and 40 seconds as they head through turn 3, final part of Center S, and then out onto the Retta Aposta. We're not going to be 3 wide, surely.
What a track this is for GT3 cars. The racing we've seen so far tonight, this is great stuff. Best racing of the season so far. And Olsen is going to complete that move eventually. It now took 2 laps, not just the one, for him to have that. But what this has done is opened up quite a big gap actually ahead, with 3 seconds behind Marcus Hagman. We were just behind about a lap, or well, 2 laps ago now, so big loss of time. And look at all of the cars in behind. Oberg's sinking about a cent now. They've got further drivers in behind. Schott, Knell, Forsberg as well, all trying to now find their way through. So sometimes a battle at the wrong time of the race can actually cause more problems than the one position that you gain.
It's taken 12 minutes in this race, but finally Marcus Byfeld has a lead of more than 1 second. So Byfeld's shown his strength. It did take him a little while to get to this point. Whether that will be the case in the next race, we'll have to wait and see. That was a very wide line from Olsen there, almost as wide as Kimi Räikkönen in 2012, if I remember correctly, when he went down that escape road out that way of the circuit.
And here comes Håkan Schott in the Mercedes. This is going to be a double move. He's already got Oberg. Can he get Hillestrøm in under the brakes, down in towards the first corner? Who's going to be a bit brave? It actually looks like it's going to be Hillestrøm on the outside line. That is a really tough place to go around. Contact, I think, door to door. That's going to slow down Schott as we come through T3, though. He has the inside line, the shorter run. This is going to let Olsen off the hook and go to further up the road. Knell and Oberg, they're trying to fight side by side. We're 2 by 2, 3 Porsches, 1 Mercedes, down in towards turn number 4. And it looks like Schott should just about be able to squeeze the 74 off wide and complete that move. But Hillestrøm's not giving up this one just yet.
Yeah, it's allowed Olsen to pull away. It's Hillestrøm on the inside there, on the left-hand side of your screen. Håkan Schott trying to get to the outside as they head through Ferradura. And now heavily onto the brakes, way off the road. In the background was Thomas Kinnell getting past Johan Oberg, and will go a little bit wide, unfortunately, and so that one will go the way once more of Johan Oberg, and they're back to single file racing between Hillestrøm and Schott. Lucas Olsen now leads this group by 1.3 seconds, but unlikely he'll be able to catch up to Marcus Hagman as yet another mistake comes in the group, and straight around the outside goes the Mercedes.
Wow, this is an awesome racetrack for GT3s. Look at Oberg sending it up the inside there into Jensal. That is an absolute send as well. That wasn't, no one really saw that one coming, but he hasn't actually made it work. He was so tight on the inside. He hasn't got the momentum up the hill. It's 3 Porsches, so everyone with the same power. It's fixed setup as well, so all the same downforce, but they're trying to find a position. Knell, who we've not really seen so far getting involved, he's now trying to make a move to the inside. Chooses not to do it this time around, but it's actually going to be Oberg who then sends it down the inside of Hillestrøm, who's able to defend in the end. These guys just will not stop fighting. Incredible action, 5.5 minutes to go.
And Knell's got his teammate as well, and Dante Forsberg directly behind Joachim Svensson, also in battle. Sebastian Svensson also. And I say that might have been an assistance to have your teammate behind. There was a big look to the inside coming in from Forsberg. As there's the move to the inside, Johan Oberg getting pushed off the road as Thomas Kinnell is going to come through.
I've never seen so many elbows in this series so far. Normally, that could have been a bit of contact. Normally these guys, they're aggressive, but the opportunities don't come often enough for this. We're almost 3-4 wide coming down in towards T8. This is incredible racing. They just know that's way too much contact in the background. Forsberg gets shoved out wide, and it looks like that's going to be Enfiden actually, I think, giving up that position very gentlemanly, but it's lost some time to this incredible battle ahead. Sebastian Svensson is now working his way through. He's got past Joachim Svensson, and now he's trying to get Johan Erberg. So that's obviously from third place on the grid. He's spun in T1. He's got back going, and now he's trying to battle for P21. Unfortunately for them, they're 10 seconds away from P15 in the reverse grid.
Yeah, look, I'm not going to lie. As much as I know that the TCR has been updated here on iRacing, they've gone through and updated all the TCRs. They've released, of course, the new Audi RS3 LMS, Evo 2, whatever class was, a lot of letters. I didn't realise that we were effectively watching some TCR racing in this. I know they're all GT3s, but you're not telling any of the drivers that. They are door banging like it's going crazy. Loving it. They've clearly been throwing some of those around recently.
Definitely. And I mean, this is just definitely reviving to see this in this series, because sometimes it can be the opportunities aren't there, so when they come, it's a big send and it's a crash, and then that's how it happens. But this, we're seeing, side to side, corner after corner, position after position, they're actually having a race, and that is what we love to see. We go up a little bit further inside the top 10. This is Jos Strolberg in the black and white Mercedes. He's got Dan Holmer, third place in the championship behind him. He's got Andreas Bachmann in the 119. He's having a great race up there at this moment in time. He's 12th place in the championship. He's only got 2 top 10s so far this season. So this would be a third of the season if he could complete that right now. But we've still got 3 minutes to go, and this battle in top 10 is not over just yet.
Wouldn't be surprised if Daniel Holmer might receive some sort of post-race penalty after the issue with Crook down at T1 a little bit earlier on in the race. 2 minutes and 40 seconds left to go from this point of the racetrack. Will be 2 laps, dependent on when Marcus Beifeld crosses the line, but I believe it will be 2 as they cross the line. Bit of weaving in the background as well. I believe that would be a couple of cars on a lap's different. Was that car that was a lap down that was weaving?
I was looking at the live time. I didn't see which car was weaving. I'm trying to recognise which car they.
It must be, because I think it's Alterwell who is the one in 9th position. There is a Mustang behind. Or to be fair, it might be Alterwell who was in the Mustang that's weaving behind a Ferrari. I don't know what cars they're in, but there is potentially at least that.
I'm trying to read. Who is that going to be? I think it's Pennings. Not Pennings, sorry, Gustron, who is that car, the lap down. But we'll certainly find out. Here's Cannell, big send to the inside. P21 trying to make this move. That is Sebastian Svensson, who goes way wide, almost comes back on and takes off the back end of that car. Orberg has to watch out as well. That is not ideal for Joachim Svensson in behind. So these guys, as we mentioned, they do not stop battling. Here is another one. Kinnell's fighting hard. Svensson trying to regain those places. He's still minus 18 after all those overtakes. He's still minus 18 from his grid place.
I think it is going to be really close to whether this is the last. I don't think this is. I think this is the penultimate lap, because I do think that Marcus Beifeld crossed the line with a few seconds to spare. In fact, no, definitely has crossed the line with a few seconds to spare. It will be like 5 seconds, but Beifeld, this will be the penultimate lap of the race. I'm sure all the drivers on the grid will be moderately aware of that, and so they'll know they've actually got a couple of laps to do battle rather than just the one, even though the timer is ticking down to 55 seconds at this point. You'd be thinking almost as if this is the last lap of the race, but that shows Beifeld's dominance once again. 1.5 seconds clear of Henrik Lindhoff. It's only been the last couple of laps where it looks as though Lindhoff has refound a bit of form and is a bit close to Beifeld's pace again after dropping off a touch.
Absolutely. Jos Strolberg just dropped off there, has not regained. Is he okay? No, I think we've lost Jos Strolberg. Oh, he has rejoined, but he's off the track. Was that because of the connection issue? Was that a spin that we didn't quite see? 20 seconds remaining, and he's just lost quite a few places. Yeah, so he's had a connection issue, but as he's come on, he's is just decided to put him back in the grass. That is a big shame for him. As we're inside the final 10 seconds now, Marcus Byfeld, final lap time, white flag comes out, just got to the line for another lap, and he should be okay with Lindoff a lot further behind, but this is the closest that we've seen in a long time, because Byfeld has been winning these races by 5-10 seconds in the opening sprint race. It's been 1-2 from Lindoff and Byfeld in all the sprint races so far, and it often has been Byfeld winning by a big margin. But 1.5 seconds, that is good news that Lindoff might have half a shout when we get to the longer race.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's a very different kettle of fish to how it's going to happen. Obviously, reverse grid and whatnot, but even just a style of racing, starting in the mid-pack, having to do a pit stop, fuel numbers will be a critical thought between how much they'll be taking in the stops and whatnot. Look, it's going to be exciting. It's going to be a bit of a thrill. And do you know what? This race has actually been very enjoyable and has left with more questions than answers, but in a very good way indeed. Marcus Byfeld, despite winning the race and obviously running away with things in the title side of things, I think even he might have a few questions for the rest of the field when it comes to the next race.
And 15 positions to be reversed for this second race could be very, very telling. But out to the final corner, it's going to be Marcus Byfeld taking another sprint race victory. In fact, he's won all of the sprint races so far this season, and he takes a 5th one in a row. 5 sprint races in a row for Marcus Byfeld here at the MABI Grand Prix, with Lindoff in 2nd place and Mikkel Sundström getting 3rd position. And this is Linus Broström. He's got a whole gaggle of cars behind him as we come up the hill. Is he going to be able to hold on? Of course, we're looking for the driver for 15 for the reverse grid, but you want to be getting your points right now. And it looks like Broström will just about hold on. That is very, very close. Filikowski behind him and Jock Frisk. And then we're going to go back down to Strollberg P25, who will be, after that spin, be getting the reverse grid pole. And a few more drivers to come across the line. I think that might be Olsen as well. That was a big battle for him with Hocken Schott and also Hillestrom across the line. Then is Empheden and Klaus Loden. They're P20 odd. And Lewis, that was a lot closer than I was expecting at the front. Some nice battling in behind. I think we're going to get a good feature race here.
You'd have to hope so. If not, it's building up to a crescendo, which maybe won't happen, and they'll all crash down at turn 1, and it will be a boring 40 minutes of racing. You never know. I've got to say, shout out to Jonas Gunnarsson, 12 positions gained, up to 13th after starting 25th. That's actually a really great drive to get into that reverse grid.
Very true, puts him 3rd position when we get to the feature race. But here's how they finished in the sprint. 14 laps, fastest lap for Marcus Byfeld, getting the extra point for that as well. So Marcus Byfeld took the victory with Lindoff and Sundström in your podium places. Oliver Bohlin, Christopher Giros, Backman, Holmer, Altawil, Broström and Filikowski being your top 10. Then we had Frisk, Bredesen, Gunnarsson, Kolsmar, Strollberg, Hagman, Olsen, Schott, Hillestrom and Svensson, the top half of the field. Before, we're seeing the crazy battles between all these drivers. Knell, Forsberg, Empheden, Loden, Ulriksson, Tier, Dahlström, Grant, Svensson and Urberg, in the end finishing in P30 after some contact. Then the final drivers on the lead lap was Broström, Wallingson, Pfeffer, Stiller, Magnussen and Reistad. And then drivers going laps down was Crook, Hennings, Matheson and Gustrin. And then I believe there's a couple other drivers, Rosqvist and Motin, many, many laps down in the Aston Martin. So while the drivers take a bit of a warm-up, they get prepared for the longer feature race. We'll take a few messages from our partners. Welcome back to Interlagos, where we've just had the sprint race for the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan's road course series for 2026 here at the MABI Grand Prix. It was, of course, Marcus Byfeld taking his 5th sprint race victory in a row. And that is something that we are obviously have been expecting, but it was a lot closer with Lindhoff in behind, which is exactly what we want to see. And one thing that I actually just missed out on as well is I think that was Byfeld's 14th pole in a row in the road course series, which is something that is just quite remarkable. Of course, that's over multiple seasons as well, but Lindhoff certainly taking to the fight, but it's still full points from Byfeld. We got the pole, got the win, got the fastest lap. So if my maths serves me right, that's going to be another 7 points that he's gained on Lindhoff. So Lindhoff has got a lot of work to do right now.
Really does. I mean, look, obviously everyone's coming into this with their own goals. Byfeld's obviously got the goal of the championship, and yeah, fair enough. He's incredibly strong. Henrik Lindhoff maybe coming into this, maybe thinking that maybe that's out of reach, maybe that's impossible, maybe that's not going to happen, maybe can't do it, maybe can't match the pace of Marcus Byfeld. But you just never know. You never know when those races are going to fall apart for Marcus Byfeld. You've got to be there to pick it up. Maybe you are aiming for finishing in second in the championship, but no one wants to finish in second, so you have to keep pushing and keep trying. And I get the feeling that, look, do you know what? I'm going to say it right now. Byfeld's not going to win the race.
Ooh, that's a big statement. Because one thing that we've seen, I'm trying to remember which one it was. I think it was Laguna Seca. Already after like 15 minutes, he was already in the lead before we even got to the pit stop. So 44 minutes, we have the pit stop, which is always, adds something. But what we generally see is they'll go as far as they can, which is going to be about half an hour. So there'll be about 14 minutes or so left in the race when they do the pit stop. But the overcut is better. You save time in the pit lane. And you basically do a qualifying lap when everyone's out on the higher fuel after making the pit stop. So the longer you go, the better. So if you can save some fuel and go a lap or two longer, that's better. And one thing we have seen, whether it's Marcus and his driving or the McLaren, because there aren't many McLarens out there to justify this, is I think it's slightly better on fuel. We often see him going a lap longer. So that is going to be an important factor. But of course, we'll get the grid for you. Top 15 reversed, and here's how they will line up. Strollberg and Kozma will be your front row, with Goodison and Bredesen on the second. Frisk and Filikovsky will round out the front 3 rows of the grid. Broström and Altawil inside the top 8, with Holmer, Backman, Giros and Bohlin the top 12. And then the final drivers reversed are Sundström, Lindhoff and Byfeld. And then we'll let the other pages roll through, as it's the exact same order as we just called out in the finish of the feature race. But certainly the MABI Grand Prix here from Interlagos has a lot of things that could happen. We already saw, Lewis, a crash from 3rd place driver Svensson in the sprint race. Fortunately, he went to the side of the track. If he spun in the middle of the track, 3rd position, that would have been, 10-pin bowling going down into turn 3.
Yeah, I mean, look, it is a lot of how the opening corner does tend to unfold, is that when a car does spin, it does tend to end up on the left-hand side of the circuit, which normally is a bit out of the way. But it depends where you're spinning from. Of course, we saw Christopher Crook being spun around, and yes, he did end up over that point in a second. But again, if that happens again, someone you're going from the outside, then spinning across the field, and that can cause that concertina and some big issues. And that's something which, yes, of course, we've had a few reverse grid races this season, and I'm sure Marcus Byfeld and Lindhoff, they're both very aware as to how reverse grid races work out and the dangers of being in the mid-pack. But that is the main thing to be looking out for. Smoke is a sign of danger, and there will be plenty of signs of it. But then, how do you avoid a car sliding around in front of you? I mean, generally speaking, and this is not a rule to be completely followed, but drive towards them. And the reason you say that is because normally by the time you get there, they've gone.
Yes and no.
As long as they're not stationary. If they're stationary, don't drive towards them, please.
Yeah, it's always situational, but yes, going flat out towards them can be good. I don't know if I'd recommend that, though.
I didn't say flat out towards them.
Yeah, and I don't know if the stewards would absolutely like that one, but certainly if we get a small little crash here, yeah, it's going to be... Yes, it's certainly going to be quite an interesting one. Let's see how this one goes, though. It's the MABI Grand Prix, it's the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan's road course series for 2026. We've got Byfeld leading the championship, but he's down in P15 on the grid. He's got some work to do with this reverse grid pole, and it's Jarl Strålberg and Samuel Kohlsmeyer on this front row of the grid. A good opportunity for these drivers to try and get some good results this season. Strålberg, 8th position in the championship coming into this race as well. Kohlsmeyer, 37th in the championship. Green flag comes out and Strålberg gets us going. We're already 3-4 wide in the mid-pack as everyone fans out trying to find some room down in towards the first corner. We're getting a bit of a side-by-side, almost 3 wide in towards the first corner, but it looks like Broström is going to be able to hold on to that one. Kohlsmeyer dropped down quite a bit. Already a big spin there from Strålberg, who keeps it out the wall.
Curb on the... Oh, this is going to be a big one as well. This could be a very big one. How do they avoid him? My goodness, that was incredibly close. And there is Strålberg just rejoining in the background. Like I said, he got onto the curb at T3 and it sent him for a bit of a spin. Linus Broström going side by side with Jonas Gunnarsson, who sends Gunnarsson off the road, who rejoins at flat out speed to retake over the race lead. Jocke Frisk is now going to be making it side by side as they head into Ferradura.
That was an absolutely incredible start there. Oh, it's already further contacts. That is a 63 there. I think that's a crook. Unfortunately, he's gone around a little bit further back. And let's go back to the front, though. Gunnarsson leads now from Frisk. Another good start from Gunnarsson. He gets up into the lead. Frisk in second place. Broström is in third. And Holmer in that fourth position. There's some moves a little bit further back. Bredesen trying to make a move. Kohlsmeyer's just going backwards now. A cork in the bottle, holding up some drivers. Lindhoff is already up to 6th place.
Yeah, incredible start from Lindhoff, and there's more sliding as well, unfortunately. That's Christopher Giros going off the road, having a bit of a slide going through the third corner. And here is Oliver Wallen, who's going to rejoin, and it's going to get so slow over the grass. And there's even more cars off the road. A very chaotic start as Henrik Lindhoff already up to 5th position.
Wow. Well, we're 3 wide there. Coming up through the final couple of kinks. A big dive down the inside of Broström, sorry, to the outside shade for Broström as he tries to get back through Gunnarsson. Frisk has already got through, and now Gunnarsson is defending so hard coming down through turn 3. Look at the gap, it's already opened up, and that is absolutely incredible. I should say it's actually Dan Holmer as Gunnarsson's dropped down to 4th place. So Simray Sweden swapping their cars around. Lindhoff already up into 5th. That's going to be an easy couple of moves. There's one as Gunnarsson lets through his teammate.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, we're getting some chaotic racing. We're getting some great racing. We are getting some chaotic one. For Henrik Lindhoff, obviously a great start to this race. Marcus Byfeld sits in 9th. There will be no surprise when Marcus Byfeld still works his way through an awful lot of this contingent. We expect him to still finish at this rate in 2nd unless anything dramatic happens. He was making a big look down the inside of Morten Bredesen at this point of the midpoint of the circuit, and he does get his McLaren through. And he's already, despite making that move, he's already trying to get past Adam Atterwill, who was one of the highest movers in the race, in the previous race we just did.
Now, it's funny how quickly sometimes these drivers are able to get through after the reverse grid, but let's see, he's being held up here a little bit by the Ferrari, always touching the back of him as well. He's going to get up the inside as we work our way through the final couple of kinks. They should have this one done because there's a shorter run on that inside line, but it's not completely over as there is, of course, some slipstream pulling both of them ahead as we get across the line for another lap. Is he going to be able to finally complete this move down into turn 1? That should be easily done, actually. Says P7 for Byfeld, P3 for Lindhoff, and we've only had 3 minutes.
Yeah, it is. That's terrifying to see them at that speed, and I get the feeling that for Henrik Lindhoff, Daniel Holmer's probably not going to be maybe the hardest overtake. We'll have to wait and see on that one. Jocke Frisk will probably try and hang on as much as he can, but I do get the feeling that this race is very heavily in favour of Henrik Lindhoff. The problem is, though, is the pace that was being shown through, especially through the midpoint of the race from Marcus Byfeld, and the fact that there might be a little bit of a fuel advantage in a 720, maybe being able to go a lap further. You cannot rule him out. Another car off the road is Ulrichsen, who's unfortunately gone off at turn 4. That was I think I've ever seen a car there.
He was deep and backwards into that gravel trap there at T4. So that there's definitely been some good bit of contact to get in there, I'm sure, because not only was he there, you know, that deep into the gravel trap, he must have been going quite fast, but he's backwards, so definitely a bit of a spin around. As Byfeld gets through, that is an interesting one in Magulio to find his way through up into P6, but he's got it done. He's got past Cosma from the front row, and he's now trying to chase down Jonas Gunnarsson. The good thing for Lindhoff is he's got past Holmer now, so he's got two drivers who are teammates behind him. He's got Broström there, who's fighting Holmer, the driver directly in front of him for the championship, so he's not going to be overly easy, but still Byfeld, I'm sure, will work his way through. It just depends the gap that Lindhoff can have. Let's see this once again. Oh, this was actually from the previous time around, Svensson going around at the start, just showing you how easy it could be, although we were able to avoid that initially in turn 1 and 2, but it's actually at turn 3 where we saw the issues. He's doing okay for now. Oh, there's multiple bits of contact. So Crook there got stuck. Then it's the 88 that went around. That is Magnusson, who had the further contact. I think that is that Backman in the blue and red Mustang making the contact there.
Yeah, absolutely. We come back to live pictures and see side by side for the race lead. Jokke Frisk and Henrik Lindhoff side by side. Should be an easy move at this point from Lindhoff, who now assumes the lead position of this field. That probably took a little bit more work than what we saw to get into the race lead whilst we were looking at those replays, but a great move nonetheless. And Henrik Lindhoff half a second clear, and we'll be thinking, right, how big of a gap can I pull on this field in the time it will take Marcus Byfeld to get up to second position, knowing he most likely will get to second position?
Oh, that was some big contact on the inside there of Gyros. I didn't quite see the drivers. One of the Simrace Sweden cars, Oliver Wallin, then had to slow down. He got hit from behind as well, so that really was not ideal. Jochen Svensson on the outside. Oh, he just gets a little tag there from the green machines. That might be Magnusson, actually. And here's Forsberg then down into turn 4. He got spun around there. That's a bit of a shame, because that was at the start, when look at all the drivers that are going to go sweeping up the inside of it.
And this is how Ulrichsen got in there. So a little bit of contact into the gravel trap, and I think left it in neutral, clutching or whatever, and just kept rolling towards the barrier. That was probably terrifying here. Jokke Frisk and Daniel Holmer side by side though for second position.
Yeah, this is good for Holmer. He wants to get a driver in between him and his championship rival Linus Broström, and he gets second place. Frisk goes down to third, and that is great move from the Simrace Sweden cars to get a 1-2 as it stands. Byfeld is now behind Broström, as he's got Gunnarsson. He's now behind Broström in that 5th position, trying to get past it. Oh, that's a bit wide there from Holmer. Opens up the door, but Frisk knows not really to dive down the inside there. Frisk 10th place in the standings. Only one top 5 to his name so far in that number 25 machine. Work his way down in towards Jinsao. And oh, in the background there is Backman going sideways. I think it's Kolsmar there was some contact with as he came down through Magulio.
That's a big shame for Backman, and will be well out of the top 10 now. Was running in 9th. I think there might be some further damage. I was about to say, I think it will take Marcus Byfeld 2 laps to get through this group. He's side by side at the moment with Linus Broström. He's going to be on the outside in that BMW M4 down the open corner onto the brakes earlier. Broström does not want to fight this too hard. The McLaren 720 of Marcus Byfeld will get up into 4th position. 2.6 seconds off of race leader Henrik Lindhoff, who's only been leading for a lap or so and has a 2.2 second lead. Daniel Holmer, though, will have to defend from Jokke Frisk, and Marcus Byfeld can definitely take advantage of this on the run to this midpoint of the lap. If they're battling hard, you might be able to pick both of them up in one go, although he's right in the middle and it's getting sketchy.
You know, if I'm Dan Holmer, I just lose a cheeky half a second here in the middle sector.
Yeah,
just to help out the teammate. But oh, big setting up the inside there from Byfeld. Was that Frisk going wide, or was that a little bit of contact? Didn't quite see on the front end. Broström's going to take advantage of that and dive it down the inside as well in his 71 machine. Unfortunately, that turns to the outside now. Such is the way of this this track, is left right through this middle sector. So he has to back out to that one. That loses a good couple of car lengths to Byfeld, who's now into third place. He's trying to chase Holmer down. He's 3 seconds behind Lindhoff, and anything that Holmer can do to slow Byfeld down is just going to help his teammate Lindhoff. Byfeld decides not to dive there. He's going to choose T1 as his best opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, like I said, I was going to take a couple of laps. What I actually meant from that was obviously one lap is what I meant. Byfeld's rapid, isn't he? And like I say, Daniel Holmer probably will not be able to keep that 720 at bay by the time they get into the braking zone of the centre S, but he is going to try nonetheless, as far over to the left-hand side of the road as he can go. A little bit of grass clipped up there. Onto the brakes goes Marcus Byfeld. He's got the inside at turn 2, and by the time they get out of the second corner, I was going to say that position was going to be done, but it certainly isn't. They remain side by side as they head onto the Retroposto, and Daniel Holmer is putting in all the work for his teammate Henrik Lindhoff at the front of the field.
What a defensive move there by Holmer. He's doing such a good job. They're losing time to Lindhoff up ahead, but they don't care right now. This is all about Holmer helping his teammate and saving every half a second that he can to try and get this race victory for Lindhoff. Round the outside is going to be for Byfeld through T6, T7. That is not where you want to be, but it does open up the door then to the inside with the switchback. But Holmer should have the inside line for the next corner here, but almost side-by-side contact between the two. He's going to squeeze him out wide onto the curb. This is really the moment now where Byfeld can just dive down the inside as he has the best line and squeezes him wide. Bit of a block pass there to confirm the move.
Yeah, maybe a little bit naughty from Byfeld, but you've got to say he had to do it. He had to put that block pass on. He had to throw it in a little deep into Pico de Pato. There was a little bit of contact going in there as Holmer was trying to hold a very defensive line. And now if Jocke Frisk goes for anything down into turn 1, it will certainly be done in turn to about the second. Daniel Holmer could remain close enough to do something about Marcus Byfeld, at least to keep the attack on. But it does seem as though as soon as that gap gets above sort of 0.6 of a second, that McLaren is gone. It's taken 10 minutes to get to this point, and Lindhoff and Byfeld run 1 and 2.
Holmer was almost 3 seconds a lap slower on that previous lap as he was doing all the defensive driving there. So he did his best. We're over 5 seconds to Lindhoff. And to be honest, if you told Lindhoff that after over 10 minutes of the race, he'd have a 5-second gap to Byfeld, I'm sure he would have absolutely taken that at the start of this. So Lindhoff, I mean, we know in the 20-minute sprint race, 1.5 seconds was the gap. So he's now got just 12 minutes more than that for a 5-second gap. Is that going to be enough? Contact. There's a front nose all over the place. There's a Strollberg maybe, and that is a weird place to have some contact. There must have been very slow off T4.
I'm glad you correctly pointed out it was a front nose. Hate it when the rear nose falls off, but that's absolutely fine, yeah. I mean, look, it's popped back on. It was Strollberg who, unfortunately, same as in the previous race, has dropped down an awful lot. In the previous race, dropped down 7 positions. This has dropped down 13, of course, started from the reverse grid pole. Currently runs in 14th after being muscled about here in the second sector. And, I mean, look, very unfortunate, but that's sometimes just how it goes at these points in these races. Ahead of that, there was someone slightly off the road. I'm going to say, based on this battle, it might have been Sebastian Svensson, who is currently running in 10th position.
Yes, Svensson, he's fast, but he's having a few little issues. Let's see this at the start. That was a terrible start from Kolsma. I didn't quite see that from the longer shot that we had. That was an awful start. That's why he went backwards and backwards. Working our way down in towards the break. So there's Broström in the middle there, working his way through to 3rd position. But let's see this from Strollberg. Oh, way too much curb in T2. And as he got on the power, still on the colder tyres, not enough grip. And he was able to gather it up nicely, but all of the cars going past him.
Yeah, didn't want to chuck it straight back onto the road. I mean, I say that he's dropped a load of positions. Actually, in fact, has gained quite a few of those back, considering that start to the race. But I mean, look, it's so easily done, especially when nerves are high and whatnot. But for Joel Strollberg, it'll be a race of many questions. But still, with 30 minutes and 30 seconds left to go in this race, there's plenty of time and a pit stop to work your way back up into contention. Gap for the race lead, back under 5 seconds. Marcus Byfeld setting some solid times.
Yeah, this is a great track for these GT3s. It's working really well today as the battles can go back and forward. And look how close everyone is staying together as well. And then this long run up towards turn 1 certainly gives a great opportunity for a dive and some good passing moments. But let's see if anyone wants to do this time around. So we've got Svensson leading the way. There's a few drivers in behind trying to make some moves. Filikowski is on the inside in that. Aston Martin trying to defend from Strollberg around the outside. They're braking late. The issue is they've got a car right up in front of them. That's not ideal. Around the outside for Strollberg. Can he complete the move? Yes, he can. That's a mega move, but it's not done actually. He couldn't quite cut off. And with the shorter run on the inside massively, Strollberg's now going to lose it.
Yeah, Filikowski rather directly ahead, and again I think that is going to switch round, or it is going to go back the way in for Strollberg at some point. So he has shown the good speed. Filikowski a little bit off the road, going through T5, and now Strollberg will work his way back through, picking up a little bit of slipstream from the group ahead. Filikowski straight back through the up and under. Beautiful from Strollberg. Bit of a contact as well. And still they remain side by side.
This is incredible racing here. All contact is made. Definitely was actually from the teammate Rosqvist. This is Filikowski. Oh, he loses the rear end again, and he goes in front of Rosqvist into the barrier. And that surely is going to be some front suspension damage. That might be day done for Strollberg.
Yeah, that was a pretty big hit coming out of 9, and a solid whack into the barrier. Unfortunately, we'll see the end of Strollberg, at least from any major contention from this race. No top 15, no top 20 realistically. Let's see it on board with Strollberg, who once again just starts to drop the rear, and bang, does clip. Rosqvist does hit the barrier hard, does lose his front nose as well. So yeah, he's finally lost it properly.
He certainly has. These nose jobs are getting massively out of hand. We've got a lapped car there going wide. That's always a little bit awkward and confusing. It looks like I think they've actually completely gone out of the way. They're trying to not avoid too much of an issue, but we'll see. Actually, no, he's now pulling to the left-hand side on the back straight to try and let everyone go. But it should be all good in the end. That is Lars Reistad in the 333 McLaren. We're looking at this battle here. This is the number 36, and that is Giros as he tries to work his way through this mid-pack. 18th position as it stands. A lot of drivers around. So he's got Bredesen ahead, he's got Hillestrom and Oliver Bohlin in behind. This is the top 20 that they are battling for, or inside the top 20 they are battling for, and it's 3 different car manufacturers as well. Just showing you how even it is at this point, but such a difficult place to try and get through in this mid-pack. The 74 of Hillestrom there just dropping a little bit wide. Wallen not having a look, but Giros is thinking about it now, as we're seeing a bit of a different line there from Bredesen in the braking zone.
Yeah, indeed. Oh, what's happened to Jocke Frisk here? Linus Brostrom's got through and was on a very odd line coming up the hill. So I would suggest the Porsche has been on a subpar trajectory throughout the opening Porsche race, and Mikael Sundström's going to look to the inside in the Aston Martin and will indeed get through as turn 1. Fun fact about Linus Brostrom, by the way, this season, currently runs in 4th position. As far as I can read in the stats, that'll be his first top 5, which is mental, isn't it?
Yeah, that does sound right. He's been sort of Mr. Consistent, which is why he's up there in 4th place in the championship. But if he can do so, I think this is also just a good view of his speed as we come into the second half of the season. As the season's progressing, he's getting more and more comfortable in these GT3 cars. As mentioned, he really is more of an oval specialist, but he's giving the GT3s a go. I mean, when I say he was not good before, he sat out most of the road course championships. The last one I remember in the Formula 4 cars, he was literally like P20 something. He was very, very slow, and he can allow me to say that as a league admin. And here we come back to this battle. We've got, of course, got the 3-way battle. Got Rosqvist with his teammate just up ahead. This is a really not ideal situation. Hillestrom has been sent round as well, a little bit further back behind this. Filikowski is the one who got that position on Hockenschop in screen and working his way through. But what on earth has happened to Hillestrom? He's gone all the way down to P32.
Look, again, something's bitten on the circuit. This is Anders Hillestrom. I think was probably defending a little bit going there into Ferradura, and I think as was defending, oh no, just offline, and the rear end snapped, and suddenly the True North racing car is, well, I don't know where True North is pointing in this circuit, but maybe he was pointing towards it.
Maybe his car was trying to point towards it and then decided that the physics didn't add up. Who knows? We'll have to try and ask him after the race. That was a weird one, though, because as much as it's a fast corner that there at Fodura, it's quite a long radius open corner. So you load up the car quite slowly into it. It's not like a fast flick where you really put the load quickly on the tyre and therefore you can overload it. You really sort of turn in, just dab the brakes, you know, the weight transfer is quite slow. Very interesting one to see that. As we see a bit of a send there, Klaas Loden is being overtaken. That is not ideal. Andreas Bagman gets past him and it's Jan Urberg just ahead.
Are you saying that you've never had a moment into that corner?
Oh, I've had a moment.
Right. Exactly. I've had some absolute whoppers into Ferradura in my time. It is quite easy to have, like, you know, you turn in and the rear end's like, nah, mush, ain't doing that. As we drop back to Oliver Bohlin on his rise back up the field, 17th position now running, having just picked up an extra position.
I just realised Oliver Rosequist that we were talking about earlier, he's up 27 positions. Yeah. 27.
Yep.
That's incredible.
Not bad for a day's work. And by day's work, I mean 21 minutes of this 44-minute race.
Wow, that's a good job. I mean, there's a lot of drivers here, you know, even up to maybe 15 places, 10 places, but 27. That is remarkable. I'm sure the like a montage of his first half of the race later will be quite interesting. Let's see how he gets on as he tries to work his way up a few more positions. Hockenschott is the car. The Sim Race Sweden Academy Mercedes AMG is the car right ahead of him. He's not quite close enough, really, to make a send just yet. He does need to watch out because he's got Marcus Hagman in the 12 machine behind him. There's a bit of a move up ahead as well. That's his teammate trying to get up the inside. That would be a great move if he can get this one done. It's Filikovsky on Olsen, but he's to the outside. Ferradura, they're door banging as we come up the hill. No wobbles this time around for the pair of them as they work their way through the very fast corners all the way around the outside. Olsen will remain on the inside line, though, but that is just going to open the door for a bit of a switch back here as we get in towards this midsection.
Yeah, that's, again, Filipovsky going for the move once more. Olsen right over the rear end. He's going to look down the inside. This is always going to be a crash every day of the week. This is going to be a crash. Olsen asking for too much. Filipovsky paying the bill and dropping down the order a few positions after all that fantastic work. Behind Hagman, he goes. Olsen asking for a little bit too much in there. Unfortunately, to Pico de Pato. Looking down the inside like that, there is only ever one outcome, and, well, yeah, that was it.
And the best bit, Hockenschott went through, and they're still fighting for position.
Yep.
So it didn't really change too much. Filikovsky, they're squeezing the door. Olsen wanting to go for the move. Here's Marcus Hagman in the Mustang, and these guys really are fighting, aren't they? The 117 of Edmonton is getting in behind as well. Hagman not enough to make that move, but this is quite something with all of the batting that we've seen at this track. There's a whole host more overtakes at this track than what we've seen in the last couple of rounds. That is for sure. Drivers are moving around all over the place. That's Oliver Bohlin looking down the inside in the BMW, but not quite enough to make the move in Edmonton.
Yeah, and obviously whilst all that drama was happening, you said it right. Obviously Hockenschott and Oliver Rosefist came through for Rosefist. One more position, and that is 30 gained in the start of this race. And there's going to be a bit of a spin, unfortunately, there. Good catch coming in from the 117 of Enfiden. I mean, I don't know how that car was saved, but it was definitely a contact between himself and Oliver Bohlin going into Ferradura. And the flash of the lights, I think, suggests who thinks who's at play.
I love that. It's something I think we don't see enough in racing. Whoa, we'll get back to that in a minute because that's a big swapper on. Can he catch it and save the car? Yes, he can. But that was Filikovsky almost having a big moment. He's going to lose a lot of places, but at least he's still in the race.
Yeah, I mean, no major drama on the damage on the car, so at least there's that. Linus Broström has just been passed by Mikael Sundström, and so Sundström has pushed Broström to the edge of the top five. Would like to gain a top five this race, but I've got to say it does seem as though even the pace of Adam Atterwell might be a little bit of a threat in the final moments of this feature race. And I mean, I say the final moments, we've still got 20 minutes. We've just passed the halfway point of this race. The sun dipping down, the lights illuminating on the car, making a bit more of a difference to the road surface, as we're also approaching the mandatory pit stops these drivers must make during this race.
Yeah, both mandatory rule-wise, but also they just won't make it to the end, to be honest, with the half fuel tank. I'm sure it will be physically possible to save that amount of fuel, but you'll have to go very, very slowly, and you'll be lapped multiple times. Quite literally, yeah. You have to be lapped multiple times, so you might as well go flat out and just take the 20-second pit stop that it will be. Here's Oliver Bohlin. He's battling with Olsen. Everton in behind. Can he go all the way around the outside? I don't think so. That's just going to open the door for the 117 True North car to dive it down the inside. This is an awkward point of the track, though. You definitely have to back us to that one, and that's why the Porsche did so at that time. But what we are seeing here is we've got a front, mid and rear engine car all battling out there on the track, just showing you that the cars are very, very equal indeed, as Bohlin is now getting the run.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm excited to see what more battling we're going to see to this, especially the post-pit stop battles. Obviously, that pit stop is coming in later in this race. It'll be in that final sort of 10-minute portion. Some might say even a little bit deeper even than that, as I say, big move around the outside from Bohlin, and he'll get Olsen at base. This is the battle for 13th position, as they remain side by side here on the rundown. Rickard Empforden, who had that big slide earlier on, we're right on board with this Porsche now. He's going to send it straight away. That's never going to stay on the road, is it? Somehow it does, and Bohlin's off.
Wow, that was way too late on the brakes, but he's made it work. No cars in the fence, but Bohlin's not going to be happy with that, because he's been pushed out and effectively lost 2 positions from that P13 to P15. I don't think he's going to be staying quiet after the race. He's going to have some words. Empforden goes wide. Olsen gets through. Is this Empforden giving the spots back? Is this a way of him doing that? I think it is, to be honest. If so, that is a very gentlemanly approach to do that. But unfortunately, he's going to lose another position here now. That's not ideal, as Andres Bachmann, the 119 machine, is going to get past him. So in the end, he's actually 1 net lost from that.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've got to say, respectfully, a 10 though from Empforden, and like I say, position lost, fair enough. I'm sure Bohlin was feeling the pressure of having the car that he's just tapped, coming back into the fight as well, and making a big send like that. That almost seemed personal for Empforden, as back out on the start-finish straight they go. Interestingly, Kolsmeyer is into the pit lane, so our first pit stop is already underway.
It's a little bit earlier than I was expecting, but to be honest, it's reasonable. It just means he's going to have to take a few more laps of fuel to get to... Actually, no, he won't, technically, because he'll already have the fuel still left in the car.
A heavier car at this point, yeah.
But yeah, he's just going to have a net heavier car over the course of the race, so he will be, on average, slower. And also, he will have a slightly less accurate timing of where the leader is and how many laps there are to account for, because there's nothing more than taking extra fuel and losing a position in the pit stop because you've sat there for longer, and then you don't even need the fuel.
Yeah, but I always say take an extra lap of fuel for safety. If you've ever had it where you've been in the very unfortunate circumstance of running out of fuel during a race, it is an embarrassing moment. I had it in 2 back-to-back races, and I hate myself for it.
Whoa, you ran out of fuel in back-to-back races. Did you not learn the first time?
The first time was one of my most embarrassing moments. All my teammates did all the work, as here comes the look to the inside from Empforden, and he does get past Lucas Olsen's Ferrari 296. We were leading a race at Sebring. This was 10 years ago now. My goodness, I'm old. We were leading a race at Sebring. My teammates had done all the work. I got in. It was honestly one of the best driven stints of my entire sim racing career, but I was a little bit too focused on what I was doing, not focused on the fuel tank. And I ran out of fuel, and the next one was in a touring car race, and I got it off by 1 litre, but it's fine.
I mean, it's not fine because you're out of the race. But
I still finished. It was chugging.
I'm sure you won't do that again after doing it 2 times in 2 races. That is that's quite funny, actually. Though.
It was 10 years ago. It's not happened since.
That's good. We have seen some pit stops now. So Motin, Sebastian Svensson, Thomas Kinnell, have come down pit lane. We've already seen a few drivers further back come down. We had Crook, we had Backman, Kenneth Tier, Gustrin come in, Hillestrom, Loden. So it is starting to be that pit stop time, as we were saying, about half an hour into the race. But as ever, the longer you go, the better. You have less fuel, definitely, to take. You'll be more accurate. Oh, that's from Frisk, a little bit of a weird one there, Voltawil. And at the end of the day, you're going to be doing some qualifying laps now compared to when your rivals have already pit and taken more fuel, so they're going to be heavier because no one will be taking tyres. Lindhoff comes in before Byfeld, and that is an interesting one. Byfeld will have the overcut. It was only 1.5 seconds.
Yeah, indeed. So we'll see Byfeld probably come into the pit lane in a lap or so. There's no way that Lindhoff would have pitted any earlier than was absolutely necessary. Daniel Holmer's also come into the pit lane as well, as you can see on the right-hand side. 12 seconds of fuel. And already rolling in the pit lane is Henrik Lindhoff. Tricky pit exit here, very narrow, very awkward to manage. And you'll see where he's going to come out in traffic. Lindhoff's going to be high on Jonas Gunnarsson, but that, of course, being a teammate, shouldn't be any major frustration for the net race leader.
Yeah, absolutely. The stops are quite short around here. So it's 27 seconds total in the pit lane, but that is not necessarily the loss because you obviously need to take time to actually do the pit lane itself. So it's a 21-second gap between Byfeld and Lindhoff. So what's that going to be? About 23 is the total pit stop loss. Let's see where Byfeld is going to come out, because I think it's going to be very, very close with Lindhoff doing basically a qualifying lap now. Looking at his sector times, he's doing a very, very good lap right now. So let's see what it's going to be. Even his last lap was only 1.5 tenths of his best time. Is he going to come in this time around? Yes, he is. So it's a 1-lap overcut. Is it going to be enough?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think that we're still going to see our race leader of Henrik Lindhoff retake over the race lead, but I do think Byfeld might be a little bit closer. The fact that he's taken 1 lap longer obviously means he has to put in potentially less fuel. It was 12.5 seconds stationary time from Lindhoff. Keep an eye on the right-hand side of your screen. Byfeld's going to be leaving with about 11 seconds on that time. It is going to be close on the exit pit lane. Lindhoff has definitely gained. He's not even going to gain the race lead back. It is going to be the race lead gained from Marcus Byfeld.
Yes, it was over 2 seconds shorter. So that was already enough, those 2 seconds, for him to gain the time. And look at that, pit stop sequence done. Byfeld, from being over a second behind, is now a second in the lead. And once again, the strategy and the longer fuel running has come out on top for the 105 machine. Is Lindhoff going to be able to do anything? Let's find out. It's less than a second. He should be getting just about a distance slipstream. But we saw him not be able to overtake Byfeld in the sprint race. Yeah,
indeed. Wow. That is very impressive from Byfeld. Again, I clearly has seen Henrik Lindhoff come in the pit lane and thought, right, activate whatever turbo mode this McLaren 720's got and try and fire away into the distance. 1 second is the race lead at the moment in advantage for Marcus Byfeld. And when it got over a second in the previous race, it did not go back below it. And you'd have to say, with Byfeld right now, it does look as though it is going to be another victory in his hands. What would it be, 6 in a row, I think?
Wow. Yes, that'll be 6 victories in a row in terms of the race wins. It will be 3 in terms of the feature race wins. He already got 5 sprint races in a row. So this is looking to be so dominant. If he gets another double today, then that also means, accounting the drop rounds, because he's got pole and fastest laps as well, he's basically getting like maximum points, because the races where he's had issues are the ones where obviously Lindhoff won. So this is quite remarkable. The points number that we're going to see at the end of the season is going to be a very high percentage of the total possible.
Podium battle here, coming in from Michael Sundström and for Daniel Holmer. Linus Broström is in position at the moment for his first top 5 of the season, which is great. I think it'll be a from what I was reading on the stats, because I think he had 5 top 10s coming into this round, so obviously had one a little bit earlier on, so would be his 7th top 10 of the season. Again, just showing consistency is key in championships like this, but keeping an eye on this podium battle, the 899 versus the 79, and no teammates, no team orders, no nothing, just full-on fighting here. And Sundström currently has the spot. It is down to 3/4 of a second with the race lead, so we won't count that out fully yet.
Oh, definitely not. And yeah, on this lap, Lindhoff has been faster in Sector 1 and Sector 2. So let's see how this one goes. I'm very excited. 10-minute sprint race to the end, basically, and less than a second behind them. It's incredible that they got 16 seconds to their teammates of Sundström and Holmer. That is, yeah, that is quite just remarkable. The pace that we've seen, of course, they had to get through the field. They're up 14 and 12 positions between them, and they're still able to get that far ahead. It really is a class of their own. Without Lindhoff, Byfeld would be easily securing a championship. It would be his 4th in 5 seasons. The only one being Jesper Eriksson, getting one of the Formula Kart championships in there. But let's see if that one is going to continue towards the end of the season. It certainly looks like it's going to be that way. Sun is setting here. The headlights are in full swing, as that's a bit wide there from Everton, and he's going to have, unfortunately, around the outside, Oliver Bohlin, who's going to get through, and then we're also going to see Backman and Crook try to capitalise on that one.
Yeah, Crook, after a tricky opening lap and also a tricky previous race as well, is right into the fight once more. Looks down the inside of Everton and will try and commit for a move down into T4, and will indeed get his big old Mustang through. Will now try and fight his way past yet another Mustang in the form of Andreas Backman. Oliver Wallen and Rickard Empforden have been separated by very little across this race, and at times they've been separated by absolutely nothing. They have made a contact a couple of times during this feature race at Interlagos, and once again it was a pretty close call there.
certainly was. We saw Crook have a bit of a dive to the inside, but not quite enough. Everton trying to regain that place. It's incredible how we've seen these packs today, Lewis. It hasn't sometimes ends up in packs of like 2 or 3. We've seen packs of 5 or 6 cars. So if you make a mistake, you are losing so many positions. It is very remarkable indeed. But I've just seen something. I think Lindhoff made a mistake on that previous lap because he lost 0.8 of a second. What I felt was only a 10th and a half of his best time, but Lindhoff dropped down into the 1-minute 32s. And if that continues on, that's not going to be good. Wallen, big send to the inside. Oterwill does not defend that one. He leaves the door wide open, and a 72 goes through.
Yeah, there we go. Position switch. Look, I will say Adam Oterwill's shown some good speed during this. Less so in this race, more so in the previous in the sprint race. Made a lot of progress in that one. Clearly not finding the comfort in the 44-minute feature. We're 37 minutes in, we've got 7 left to go, and that Ferrari's not quite got the speed that it has shown. One that has shown some solid speed and some solid overtaking prowess is this one here, Lucas Olsen. Got a big gap up to the next car. Yeah, I say big gap, but obviously it's not much. Johan Oberg is the one there. Oscar Moten's the one directly behind, and that Aston Martin, and will indeed switch round here with a big look around the outside. Clearly, Moten's feeling confident in the car if he's going to send that one, or maybe Lucas Olsen's not feeling confident in his.
Yeah, this is a great battle between the two. Looks like Moten's just confirmed that position, but that we had to work hard for that one, as we've seen all day. No easy positions at this track. Just the way it flows, it gives the opportunity for your rival to come back at you straight away. It's not like you overtake and then there's no opportunities. There's opportunities everywhere around this circuit, but Olsen, P21 now, will have to try and regroup and try and get back inside the top 20. 6 minutes remaining of the day. The MABI Grand Prix. Let's see this as one of the MABI sponsored drivers. Backman down the inside, tries to now get to the outside, but not quite enough. Oterwill completes that move. The car number 2 in P15, but Backman is not over yet, and Crook is also coming.
Yeah, I mean, look, great fights once more. Crook's looking on the left-hand side. Penix has been black flagged for too many off-track excursions and probably too much contact as well. There's the look to the outside coming in from Crook. Andreas Bachmann's got the inside run. There's a Ferrari going slow as well. Not sure as to who that belongs to, but they are going another lap down, unfortunately. I will assume that'll probably be Colesmeyer, who was the first car to have pitted.
I've been trying to have a look.
It is Colesmeyer. He's got a meatball flag, and he is the one dropping down the order. So I don't know quite what's happened there to the Ferrari of Colesmeyer.
Yeah, that was a big hit because Penix already got the black flag. Yeah, I think you might be right. But that, for a driver who had such a strong starting position, just gone backwards and backwards in this race. Really not ideal, but just showing you how difficult it is. Maybe easy for some towards the front of the field. We see Byfeld, Lindhoff, Sundström, Holmer, Broström. I mean, really, they're sort of the top. No, they are the top 5 drivers in the championship. Even Gunnarsson is 7th place. He's 6th in the championship. So 6 drivers there inside the top 7 championship-wise. But for those further down, it is certainly a lot more difficult to get to the end in a good position. It's very easy to make mistakes, as we've seen in these cars. There may be GT3s that are stable, they have the driving assist, but we see a lot of drivers ending up in the wall or even just going for a spin, and therefore you lose multiple positions.
I remember this happening. I think I might have even used this example actually on the Oval Series a few weeks ago. But in the series that you used to run, Cam, Roger, I think it might have been 2020. No, it must have been 2022, 23. We had a round where we went racing at Hockenheimring, and there were, of the 22 cars that were on the field, 10 finished because they underestimated the circuit, and we thought going into the next round, which was Hungary, that there was going to be an awful lot of retirements because in the sense in that car it was actually a harder circuit. There were 0 retirements from the next round, and I get the feeling that kind of feels a little bit like this because it's such a wide open circuit, because these with their traction control in a relative term they're actually not particularly difficult to get around the circuit. You underestimate, you don't think about how difficult, you're not constantly on edge, and that's what causes the spin. As soon as you get comfortable, boom, the car goes round.
Yeah, that's true. You have to be prepared for the challenge that the track gives you. And sometimes, as you say, if you're used to, or if you know you're coming into the race, it's going to be a tight and twisty and difficult circuit, you kind of have a different mindset going into it. It's very, very true, actually, to be honest, and something that I think a lot of drivers don't quite take into consideration when attacking a track. There are some drivers, they just go flat out 110% of the time. They do not care what the circuit is. But there's some that will maybe step back a little bit if they're slightly afraid of the track, or they know that issues can come quickly.
Not long left though in this race. You can see the timer for Colesmeyer there on the right hand side. That is going to be probably quite a big repair. Had a big hit on the barrier at turn 5. As more side by side here as Adam Alterwell's going to keep or try and keep Bachmann at bay. The mighty Mustang straight around the outside. Christopher Cook will be the next one to try and get through. They've only really got a couple of laps to try and settle these final few positions, as Marcus Byfeld, leading by 2.3 seconds, has built an incredible margin once again, and will look for 6 on the bounce. There's another car receiving a black flag. Wallingstam, I mean, look, it is quite an easy circuit to get it because exceeding track limits around here is really easy.
And we've seen quite a bit of contact out there as well. It's just such a shame. Couple of laps to go, and then getting the black flag. It's just that's going to feel like a long run down pit road. As we get to 90 seconds remaining, the MABI Grand Prix has been very, to be honest, very action-packed. We've seen battles left, right, and centre all over the track. It hasn't just been one corner, it's been every single corner pretty much that we've seen a car side by side. We've seen a few incidents here and there, but overall, there's another one. The 63 goes around, and that is Autowheel black flag as well. That is a driver we've been looking at quite heavily in this race, but he's going to have to lose some time on the final lap. And it looks like at the front, Byfeld, 2.5 seconds. He's pulled away from Lindhoff. Final minute. So we're coming on to start the final lap. But let's have a look at this first. Crook. Just, does he touch the back? I think he might touch the back of Autowheel, actually, and gave him the black flag.
No, that wasn't all-to-will, I don't believe. But certainly does make contact with the rear. Maybe that was all-to-will. But I thought all-to-will was in a red, white and green Ferrari, so I don't think it was. But Christopher Cook, either way, definitely into the rear end of the Ferrari. Look, it has been an exciting race. We have had, look, there was that the Oval Series round that I jumped in on. That was an exciting race. It's an exciting round this round as well. I'll take being a deputy Northerner and obviously clearly bringing some good racing and good fortune, right?
Yeah, Northerner from the southeast. I'm not sure quite how that works, but
my family are all based in the northern part of Derbyshire, so that's more northern than Nottingham.
That is actually very true, technically speaking. We also had a black flag, by the way, from Enfield, who's the car behind Autowill. So that part of the track, certainly not so good. But this driver is good. Marcus Byfeld, he won the sprint race in dominant fashion after qualifying on pole. He got the fastest lap, and it looks like he's also going to get the fastest lap here and a race win. It looked for the first half of the race like Lindoff had control. He had a 5-second lead at one point, but Byfeld closed him down to a 1.5 seconds and then did an overcut just 1 lap longer, but importantly over 2 seconds shorter on pit road, and that's what it was that swapped them around, and he has not looked back ever since. It's going to be a win by almost 3 seconds in the end, and the MABI Grand Prix is going to be the double trouble for Marcus Byfeld as he extends his championship lead to win 6 races in a row. Lindoff will get second place and Mikael Sundström in third, but back here is Autowill. He's got a black flag, but he's still fighting hard.
Yeah, he certainly is. He's given it a good go. You've got Oberg and Olsen in the background. Olsen makes a look to the inside of Oberg, and out wide goes Autowill. Doesn't really, I say he doesn't really care. I think he's served his black flag now. At least what I've got on my screen. It's not on his car anymore, but I mean, he's moving down a couple of extra positions.
He certainly is. Oh, there's a big swapper on there. Can he catch it as he makes a little bit of contact on the back of Lucas Olsen? And yeah, I wonder if that was actually removed. Maybe, yeah, because he definitely has not served that. Enfield has been down pit road twice, but he has not. They're coming up the run to the line. Auto is looking in his mirrors. This is Kenneth Tier in the 49 machine. He's trying to get the run in the Aston Martin up towards the line. Not quite a long run, but not quite enough. And Auto in the end will finish there in P18 as we cross the line here, as darkness is just coming over the track at Interlagos. A few final positions being battled to the line, but not quite enough. Dante Forsberg goes out wide. He loses a couple of positions here as he is working his way to the finish. The 74. This is going to be of Anders Hillestrom. He's down 11 position, so that is certainly, has he run out of fuel, actually? As Hillestrom, is uphill to the line. He's uphill to the line. Is he going to have enough to just creep over? Oh, there's a big crash in the foreground of the camera there, and Hillestrom just gets to the line. Some would say that's perfectly timed on fuel. But yeah, not quite enough indeed. That was a finish and a half here to the MABI Grand Prix. And it looks like, I think we got Patrick Pfeffer. No, he's already finished because he's a lap down. So here are the results after 29 laps of action. Marcus Byfeld, he does the double and he gets the fastest lap. So that is maximum points today. 2 wins, 2 fastest laps, and also the pole position. There is technically points for a 0x race, but that is very, very rare for a driver to get. So it's Byfeld, Lindoff and Sundström on the podium, with Holmer, Broström in behind. So Holmer just gaining another point there on Broström in their championship battle for third in the championship. Frisk, Gunnarsson, Giros, Svensson and Rosequist round out the top 10. And great to see so many different manufacturers actually in the cars. That is great to see. Hagman, Backman, Schott, Bohlin, Motin, Urberg, Olsen, Autowill, Tier and Bredesen, the top 20. Before we see the drivers, the final few drivers actually on the lead lap a little bit further down. We got Dahlstrand, Crook, Filikovsky, Stiller, Lodin, Forsberg, Gustrin, Kinnell and Wallingston, and quite a few other drivers. But actually, I want to try and pull in some of these. Oh no, we do swap the pages. Actually, all the drivers in the top 30 are going to be still on the lead lap. We go all the way down to P31 of Empforden, which is going to be the final driver on the lead lap. Before we got Broström, Magnussen, Pfeffer, Pennings, Reistad, Kolsmar, Gran, Strålberg, and Svensson. And the final couple of drivers is Ulriksson and Mattheson at the back of the field. So let's grab a word from the drivers on the podium. As ever, unfortunately, Marcus doesn't like to join us in the commentary booth, but we will bring in firstly Linus Broström here, who you've had a solid day out there, Linus, to be honest. You're fighting for third place in the championship, and you're only one place behind Holmer there. So overall, this has probably been your most competitive round.
Yeah, it was great from start to finish. Just had good pace in practice, was hoping for a little bit better in qualifying, but I got X's on my last 2 laps. But still managed a top 10 in the first race, which was according to expectations. I was hoping to maybe have the reverse pole for race 2, but top 10 is great. And then in race 2, our line got a lot better start than the right side line. I was up into 3rd in turn 1 and then 2nd, and then tried to go for the lead. Got a little bit tight and knocked Jonas wide, so sorry to him for that, but I gave the position back, so hope everything's good there. So I had a really good start, and then it was just trying to keep going and not make any mistakes, and made one mistake when Sundström caught up to me, so we just let him go and then try and keep up. So yeah, top 5 first time this season, I think, so that's definitely not what I was expecting when I signed up for the season.
Yeah, it's looking good. I mean, coming into the night, you were 34 points behind Holmer, so quite a way, and he did gain another point there on this race. So it may be a bit of a challenge to catch him down, but what do you think coming into the next round? We go to Brands Hatch. I mean, that's going to be quite a crazy one.
Yeah, that's going to be really interesting. We'll see what the weather's like and how the racing's like. I've not been there for quite a while in any car, actually, so but I'm looking forward to it. And I mean, my aim going in for the season was to try and get a reverse pole at some point, be top 15 in the championships, and I'm sitting, 4th or 5th after this round, so I mean, as long as I can keep this going, I'm gonna be super happy no matter what happens, as long as I don't crash, obviously.
Yeah, it's great to see you doing well on the road course side of things. But yeah, we'll see you next week back on the ovals.
See ya.
And then, of course, we'll bring in Mikko Sundström, who's been able to join us in the 899 machine for nearly on pace. And Mikko, that was another solid round for you, a 3rd position there and onto the podium in the feature race. Unfortunately, a good 20 seconds off the lead. But to be honest, in this championship, 3rd place is a great result for you.
Yeah, I'm starting to feel like that meme with the guy on 3rd place celebrating as this point. And yeah, feels like a win.
Well, absolutely, it's still good. I mean, it is a little bit of a gap, but you were 39 points behind Holmer before the races tonight, so definitely gained a small chunk there. So do you still have aspirations of getting 3rd place in the championship?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I can only do my best and see where we end up. I haven't really looked at the table, to be honest, but obviously 3rd place is, I think that's what I'm aiming for. And I mean, it's always fun racing Holmer, so it should be fun.
Certainly. And how did you find this track today? It looked, I mean, from our side of things, it was amazing. It was the best racing of the season, the side-by-side battles, lap after lap. How did you find it out there on the track?
It is really good for that, and yeah, I found the car really sketchy, and I think that also helps. It felt like it was really, really low grip. And there's something with this car with a turbo, like when it kicks in, you can spin it basically any kind of angle. It's pretty hard to drive sometimes, but once you got that under control, it was quite fun, to be honest.
Yeah, certainly looked it. It was great fun. So yeah, well done, and we wish you luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you very much.
And unfortunately, we don't get to hear from Lindorff or Byfeld, but they are putting on a great show in this championship. But that brings us to the end of the night here to the MABI Grand Prix from Interlagos, and what a night of action that was. We go back racing in a couple weeks' time on the Road Course Series, 2nd of April at Brands Hatch. Then we have Sonoma and Suzuka to round us out for the season. It's looking really, really good for Marcus Byfeld, isn't it? But that is not all of the racing here, of course. course, we go back to the oval action next week. We go to Kansas as well. That's going to be a whole load of fun. What a track that is. 135 laps coming this time next week. Same time, same place, 8 p.m. CT here on RaceSpotTV. Thank you for watching. It's been myself, Cam Roger, Lewis McGlade alongside me, and Hugo Louise on the production of this RaceSpotTV broadcast. And until next week on the ovals, or a couple of weeks on the road course, we wish you a very warm goodbye.